Thomson.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to give my maiden speech, and indeed for reminding the House that I should be heard interrupted. That makes me feel a little more at ease. Within this speech, I intend to give you a sense of who I am, both as a new member for Edinburgh West and also that of the Shadow Minister for Business, Innovation and Skills. However, before I do so, I must add my own tribute to Charles Kennedy, who was a politician I greatly admired, and that of his wit. Edinburgh West, similar to many constituency boundaries, isn't strictly limited to that just of Edinburgh West. It extends from the beautiful South Queensferry with its iconic rail bridge through Kirkliston and Ratho and into the city, encompassing Edinburgh Airport, the headquarters of the Royal Highland Society and the Royal Bank of Scotland, and then travels into the west end of the city past Edinburgh Zoo. Is it too early in my speech to get 3 for the price of 1 in panda jokes? Passing parts of Stenhouse, Carricknow and Kistorfin, it stops to include Murrayfield, a beautiful place, as well as the home of our Scottish rugby. On the other arterial route into town, it includes Barnton, Cramond and parts of Blackhall, as well as Drylaw, Pilton and Muirhouse. For many, it is a place of comfortable living, and visitors would need to look hard to recognise the innocuous building in Drumbray as that of a food bank, one of several in my constituency. It's easier to sense the daily struggle for many in Muirhouse, where chronic underemployment and social deprivation is apparent. Throughout the constituency, as in many other areas, small businesses are endemic. SMEs are around 99.3% of Scottish businesses, and small, the 0 to 49 employees, are about 99.1%. They are indeed the backbone of our community. Interestingly, though, Edinburgh as a whole demonstrates the parallel worlds of wealth alongside poverty. And I'm constantly reminded of the danger warnings from the world-renowned economist Stiglitz, that an unequal society not only limits our ability to compete, but is both a cause and a consequence of volatility. My predecessor, Mike Crocker, was considered to be a hard-working MP, and many years ago we worked together as colleagues in Standard Life. And I have to say, we often found the debates about politics a lot more interesting than the debates about pensions. Despite a robust campaign, he was unable to resist the swing away from the Lib Dems, and the SNP came from 4th in 2010 to 1st in 2015. And I wish him well in his future career. Mr. Deputy Speaker, may I tell you a little about myself? I started life as a professional piano player and then spent many years delivering large-scale business and IT change in financial services, and then set up my own small business. Politics was always an interest, but became a passion as I became involved in our debate about independence. I and many other business owners investigated the business case for independence, having gone through the numbers, having gone through the economics, having looked at the status quo and said, how can we grow our economy? Where are our new emerging markets? Look at the risks, look at the opportunities, and we concluded that that was the right way to go. And I was joined by literally thousands of business owners in coming to that conclusion. Because, of course, we know that this strong economy that we all seek enables us, yes, we want targeted growth by use of effective economic levers, but this strong economy underpins the public services from which we all benefit. We've touched today on the forthcoming bills, and I will personally watch with interest, because my driver in this debate is about the ambition that must underpin what we want to achieve. And I will be watching to see whether there is the appropriate level of ambition and vision. So will the Enterprise Bill provide measures that really encourage and support small businesses? Will they start to take the steps that address the chronic lack of available liquidity for small businesses? Will the Full Employment and Welfare Benefits Bill really aim to deliver full employment, or will it focus on yet more cuts, and these self-same cuts that mean we have to support people, whether it's housing benefit, whether it's working tax credits, doesn't make sense to me, I have to say. Will the housing bill simply tinker around the edges of English planning laws, or will it really support affordable housing and new jobs to help this sector recover from what's been a very difficult time? Will the National Insurance Contribution Bill provide real reforms to incentivise business? And if not, will you devolve this to Scotland so that we can do so? Will the European referendum bill pander to the Eurosceptics, or will it allow the framework for a proper realisation of the benefits in business to the free movements of goods, services and people? We know that the EU is the main destination for Scotland's international exports, and the Daily Telegraph recently quoted, "Everybody is very aware that Britain is the next big problem on the horizon. The mood is that we've got to save the British from themselves," says Giles Merritt, head of Friends of Europe think tank. Or it may be that the austerity agenda will drive all that is presented to this House. The need for cuts was sold as a requirement to decrease the debt, to decrease the deficit, but during the last Parliament, the Chancellor failed on all of his own measures. Arguments against austerity were trodden underfoot by what Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, calls a bogus narrative, and the Office of Budget Responsibility notes that the UK is the only country where the deficit has not been reduced by growing, but by cutting. Growth must now be the focus, and it begins at the bottom in a virtuous cycle, because people spend money in their local communities and in their local businesses. But much more importantly, will the Scotland Bill really offer the sort of power we need to grow our economy, to invest, to create jobs, and to ultimately provide more sustainable and worthwhile wealth? To what extent will it support our driver for a culture of investment, of innovation, of research and development, of increased productivity, a renewed focus on manufacturing, on new infrastructure, and all the ambition the SNP promotes? We seek powers for a purpose, to quote, to make a difference and to link the policies of economics, labour and welfare for better outcomes. And surely that is what good government must be about. I fear that the Scotland Bill provides little of what we seek. It falls comprehensively short of fully implementing the Smith Commission's recommendations, which themselves fell short of the vow promised during the referendum. The UK government must honour the Smith Commission promises in full. It's important to emphasise that the Commission, which was a response to support for independence in the referendum, is a floor on new powers and not a ceiling. These are the minimum powers, and we need an appropriate response to the new people, the new members you see on these green benches.
We're all here.
So it's time for thought leadership about our business and how we do business. We will seek to make progressive business alliances that encourage ambition, aspiration, investment in infrastructure and innovation. To do this, we must rebalance our focus onto smaller business, as it will be them that fuel growth. We must also seek to combat the relentless navigational pull of London, and to this end we do indeed support devolution for cities across the UK and putting power back to those who understand best what is required. Business is, and always was, an enabler for society. It's time we look afresh at our definitions of success and how we create the conditions of success. The crude measures of growth by GDP per capita are outdated. The leading economies use the so-called happiness indices, and they provide the link with an holistic, embracing, rounded society of which business, innovation and the supporting skills form a part. I look forward to taking part in driving positive change for my constituents in Edinburgh West, for business innovation skills in Scotland and across all of these isles.